Hello? Beep, beep, beep. Hello! How are we all doing? It's your favourite Edijester, the only one, the original here. Hoping that you're all well. I've gone with the blue for this particular extravaganza, which I've taken ages to do because I can't stop laughing. This is me all over. So before we start, become a warrior teacher. Right, starting in March. That's the important thing. Subscribe, share, or join the channel. If you're not already a member, please do. Because the Jesterites get stuff up front. So this first thing I've got for you today regards an organisation called the CIPD. Right? Or, as it's known in the trade, the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development. Which, from what I can gather, involves a lot of shabbily swinging middle-class women with too much time on their hands, and the odd, ponce like me, for sort of fanning about. They're fine. They've been around forever, but somebody contacts me, whistleblower. I've had a whistleblower from the CIPD, right? Who sent me this video, which I'm going to analyse. Now, there's the problem. There's 1 hour and 40 minutes of it, and I'm about 8 minutes in. So I thought, well, I'll do the first 8 minutes and see what you lot think and get some feedback on whether you think it's interesting. I am seriously considering renaming the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development as the Chartered Institute of Ponces and Dunces. After seeing this video, which is one of the most extraordinary things I've ever come across, one of the most extraordinary artifacts in this battle of ours, in which we are attempting to bring some sanity and reality to the world. But yet you've got the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, right, who are doing stuff like this to businesses, right, to businesses. So just to let you know, I've cut out any pictures of anybody or any names or anything like that, but you've still got the voice. So if you know this person, you know this person. I'm not going to reveal who they are. And secondly, I'm not going to reveal who my source at the CIPD was either. But it's glorious. It's glorious. So please do join me on this short adventure into the first 10 or so minutes of a Zoom call or a Teams call, one or the other, held by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development, which in the first 10 minutes manages to give me more material to play with than anything I've ever come across in this ridiculous land we now live. So settle down, get yourself a cup of coffee, and let's begin with a short introduction at the point that I was able to get it from the video, because this is where the video actually started, because this individual obviously had to smuggle it out or whatever they've done to get it to me. All right, so here we go. Let's start. Ladies and gentlemen, Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, giving you all you need to know about trans, intersex, non-binary, genderqueer, gender whatever it is, and fluidity, in a way that makes you think you're listening to a loon. Cue video.
Assigned at birth, and gender expressions and roles fit traditional expectations. So when I say gender binary or binary gender, that is what I'm referring to. This system that we have in place, certainly in the UK, in the West, where we split gender and into male or female. We binarize it. Binarize it. Binarize it. Binarize it.
They're actually making it up as they go along. They're making it up as they go. That's what they're doing. Yeah, that's what they're doing. That's what you just saw. First off, sex is not assigned at birth. It's observed. It's observed. Right? So that's just the beginning. It's like just the start of it. Sex is observed at birth. That's the first thing that we need to say, and say it loudly and proudly. And then we'll see that they'll begin, what is obviously just the ability to make up stuff on the spot. Right? The ability to make up stuff on. You're going to get more of this, right? As we go through this, you'll get more of this. But this is just the beginning of what I've got. And already they're talking utter cobblers within the first few seconds. So let's have a look at another bit and see what the Chartered Institute of Ponces and Dunces have been up to. Now, go.
So this new world of sex and gender that we are walking into and moving towards separates now these three things here. So biological sex, as assigned at birth, from felt gender identity, which is how someone feels on the inside, internally. And then external gender expression, which is actually a kind of a third layer of this. And so a couple of different examples here. So, for example, a drag queen might be someone who is assigned male at birth. Their felt gender identity is a man, but their external gender expression, they're wearing women's clothes. And so from an expression perspective, what they look like, they look female because that's how they're dressing, but their identity is male and their biological sex is male. I'm another example here. So my biological sex is I was assigned female at birth. My felt gender identity is non-binary. My external gender expression is femme. So I could alter my external gender expression to somehow be whatever a non-binary person is supposed to look like. But truthfully, we are just moving to a new place where we can't really tell how somebody identifies from what they look like. And so whenever me and my son go into a restaurant and they're always determined to sir and madam us, it's quite funny how my son, who's 13, will turn around and say, why are they so determined to gender us? And it's a funny thing that we do. So starting to realise that someone's biological sex, their felt gender identity and their external gender expression might not match. So we do this thing where we read somebody and how they're expressing themselves or what they look like on the outside, and we read so much into that. And in this new world, that's going to become a slightly more tricky thing for us to be doing.
I mean, what do you say to that? It just gets funnier the more I see it. Right? It just gets funnier. So we started off with that wonderful word from the last clip. We binarize. We binarize people. Do you feel in any way binarized? If so, please do write in. If you feel that you've been binarized. Right? That's what we've got. Binarized. Okay? So where do you even go with this? Right? And then they can't even use the word man and woman. That's the thing. It's just the CIPD, Chartered Institute of Penises and Dickheads, right? Just they can't even use the word man and woman. It's absolutely beyond me. It really is. And I just couldn't stop laughing when I was making it. So then we go on to talk about, gender identity and gender expression, which is personality and fashion, you numpty. The inner sense of one's gender identity, and then the revelation that our presenter is non-binary. Really? Okay, right, yeah, because that's not a thing, you know that, right? That's just you in your weird head. That's not a thing. Sorry, dear. It's non-binary. My backside. So the next thing you get is, which is the most, I think, utterly extraordinary. Well, what you can't do is you can't tell by how people look. This is utterly it's utterly, I mean, it is literally madness, isn't it? You can't tell. Can't tell. And then goes on to illustrate it all by talking about drag queens. Drag queens! I just despair. This is the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development. The entire thing's dripping with gay men. Was there nobody there with any sense? The Chartered Institute of Perverts and Drag Queens. And then there's a story about her son, who apparently, at 13 years old, understands a word she's made up that doesn't exist, called genderize. I have serious questions. I have serious questions, dear viewer. I'm sure that you also have serious questions around this. As we enter, as she calls it, the brave new world where there will be a genderizing and a binarizing. The seriousness of this mind. Here we go. The seriousness of this mind is what they're actually doing is they're making up a language in order to construct a reality that isn't a reality at all. And that's the Chartered Institute of Pillocks and Dickheads, whatever you want to call them, right? Absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. This poor woman who's having to do this might have been told by her boss, here it is, now go and learn it. Now you're going to train this. She might be sitting there trying to restrain her laughter. I just don't think she is. What do you think? You can tell me in the comments. What do you think? Is she trying to restrain her credulity? Incredulity, rather. At this absolute unmitigated garbage. We're not even 2 minutes in. That's the extraordinary thing. We're not into. For example, a drag queen, they look like women. Drag queen don't look anything like women. What are you talking about? Drag queen is an expression of severe and dysfunctional femininity. That was the whole point, was to take the piss out of femininity, because gay men were so persecuted by straight men for being effeminate. So like, you think I'm effeminate of this? So it was very much about feminine performativity. It was an era. Then if you think Divine, Edith Massey, drag queens, they look like women, but they look like women. So you can't tell. Despite Divine being on a stage with a microphone going, "You think you're a man, but you're only a boy." The Chartered Institute of Perversity and Delusion. It gets better. It gets better. Trust me, it gets better. And here it comes.
But 1 in 350 people in the UK operated on at birth to make them male or female. So how is this happening? So how are 1 in 50 people in our populace born not male or female? How is that happening? Well, it turns out there's not just 2 chromosomal profiles. There are 10 at least chromosomal profiles, so including XYY, XXY, XXXX, XY-DSD, which simply means that they have a chromosome XY, but they have differences in sexual development. So even though chromosomally it is XY, there are still differences in their sexual development. And same with XX, XX-DSD, XX chromosome, but differences in sexual development. And in the middle there, there's one which is XY with the SRY on the X. And so generally the SRY gene, which is responsible for gender, usually sits in the Y, but actually in some individuals, it actually hops across, and we don't really know why, hops across onto the X instead. So all of these different chromosomal profiles result in a non-male or female entirely manifestation of human beingness.
Right, so we've had binarized, genderized, and now at the end we've got human beingness. This Fruit Loop, right, is literally reading human beings as if they're a movie or a text. That's what they're doing. It's the social sciences again, see? Which is why they need to be brought down. But I mean, how glorious is this? It's just beyond the pale insane. Beyond the pale insane. Hopping chromosomes. What are you doing? I'm a hopping chromosome. And the stats are all over the shop. None of it's true. None of it's true. Penises, clitorises. It's so glorious. But it's also real. It's real. That's the worst thing about it. It's insanity on a grand scale, and I think they should have to explain themselves. Don't you?
So coming on to the physical, the kind of like the gonads and the genitals, I mean, we've kind of touched on it briefly, but certainly in the intersex category, there are a lot of people who have some combination of gonads and genitals. So it might be that they have ovaries and a penis, or they might have testes and a vagina. But underneath that intersex umbrella, which is 1 in 50 people, some of them, it's obvious on the exterior as well, to the point that then they're having operations at birth. As I say, in the UK, about 1 in 350 people. So this diagram here is of 2 things, and again, if we were in the room, I'd ask who knows what they are. So the one on the right, item B, is a penis, and on the left, item A, is a clitoris. And so I use these just to really show how we have this idea that embryonically, it's almost like there is an egg and a sperm meet, and then suddenly it's decided pretty much really early on that this is a pink one or a blue one, and there are almost 2 shoots in the uterus, one for pink and one for blue. And once they go down the blue shoot, everything that happens is blue, or once they go down the pink shoot, everything that happens is pink. And that's actually not the way that we develop in the womb at all, and which is why men have nipples and women arguably have clitorises, which are a small version of the penis.
Mad as a box of frogs. Ribbon. What? I don't know what to say to you. So, human beings aren't clownfish. There's something that's responsible for gender. 1 in 50 people are intersex and have, a mix of gonads and genitals, and therefore they're not human. They're sexless humans. We're 8 minutes in. We're only 8 minutes in. It's absolutely extraordinary. I like the bit where she says that we're going to talk about the penis. I've touched on it briefly. I've touched on it briefly with her non-binary hands. 1 in 50 people. That's what they're saying. It's a lie. It's a stone cold lie. And then people with combinations, it's a stone cold lie. People that have differences in sex development are either male or female. They don't know what they're talking about, and they're training some of the biggest organisations in the country. You need to think about that, because this is not something that can simply be dismissed. They are a dangerous organisation at this point if this is what they are doing. And she said, what was it? She said women can arguably have a clitoris. Do you feel women arguably, did you have a clitoris? Is that a clitoris? It might be. Why? Why do you ask? Do you arguably have a clitoris? Absolutely surreal. And then the belief that, or in fact the scientific fact that once the egg hits the sperm, that's it, you're either male or female. No, that doesn't actually happen. What you've got is 2 shoots, like water flumes. When you go on holiday to Ibiza or some other awful place, you shove your kid down a chute. It comes out the other end, goes 20 foot in the air and hits the waiter on the head. That kind of thing? You've got 2 of them. Did you know that? You've got a pink and a blue shoe. And when, it depends on whether you go down the pink or the blue shoe as to whether you turn out to be a boy or girl or none. This is the Chartered Institute of Personal Development. I can't believe it. I honestly can't believe it. And I hope you're as gobsmacked as I am. So, do you women feel that you have a shooty ute? Or a Uti shoot? Have you got a Uti shoot? Have you checked your pink and blue Uti shoot? 2 shoots in the uterus. Do women have a Uti shoot? It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane on every level. Every arguable level, every scientific level, any statistical level, any level of reality. This is insanity being pushed by the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development straight into the business communities that we rely on so greatly for our innovation and our future. It's funny, yeah, it's funny, but it's also incredibly dangerous. And I don't understand how they're getting away with it. They shouldn't be getting away with it. Human beingness, binarised, genderised, absolute lunacy. But you can tell me whether you think it's absolute lunacy by popping it in the comments. Become a warrior teacher, buy me a coffee if you like my work, let me help keep going. I'm going to go now because that's only 8 minutes. I don't know if I can stand anymore. I jumped forward a few slides and they're talking about transgender lions. Anybody told Mufasa? Transgender lions! Really? The transgender lions. I'll do some more when I can I get myself back together. I need a sausage sandwich. Come and be a warrior teacher. I'll see you all later, all right? Have a great day.